Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VC TV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. We've got a fun episode, as always, for you because today we're talking about our favorite subject, blockchain, and what is all happening in this space. So you as entrepreneurs who are building and you as investors who are investing know what's to be paying attention to now more than ever as we are here in the beginning of May. And so much continues to happen in this industry on a daily basis. Now, we break this down on blockchain and crypto today in the mornings with all the headlines, but we're going to add context further to that and talk about it from an investment angle and get a much globalized view as well. So big shout out to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making today's episode of VCTV possible. If you're liking what you hear, make sure you click subscribe, like, and share today's episode. Also check out the archive on latoken.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. With that being said, I'm going to jump right in and start introducing our co-hosts, and then I've got a hit list of headlines for us to talk about today. But first, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to see you all again. We had a monster episode talking about the industry last week from a DeFi and financial perspective. Now here we are breaking down blockchain. Giampaolo, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Yes, Kyle, thank you for having me. Welcome everybody. This is Giampaolo Parigi. I'm a venture capitalist, about 32 years in the space, internationally, investing in technology, manufacturing. I'm a partner of a private equity group out in California. Had a single family office up in New York, and I'm developing a technology amalgamator in the European Union. I'm also on a decentralized finance platform in Singapore, as you've seen. So welcome everyone, and back to you, Kyle.
Thank you, Giampaolo. Tons of fun. Wendy, welcome back to the show as well. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Thank you. Woo-hoo. I'm Wendy Diamond. I am a founder of LTP Ventures, as well as Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, where I look to empower women entrepreneurs. I'm also a limited partner in 4 funds, 3 funds in the crypto disruptive technology space, including Block Tower, which is over $1 billion. Coin Fund over $500 million, and Crescent Capital as well. And I'm also very fondly about food and health, and so also recently became a limited partner also with Earth First Food Ventures, focused on plant-based, etc. So thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful, and pets too.
Very. So I mean, those are my angel investments. Yes, of course.
There you go. Can't forget about our furry friends. So there we go. David, welcome back to the show. The mad scientist himself. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Thank you, Kyle. Hello, everyone on the panel. So happy to be with you. I'm David Tawil, president of ProChainCapital. ProChain is a crypto-focused hedge fund looking to develop the best risk-adjusted returns in the entire crypto ecosystem. So we invest in tokens, both long and short, cash and derivatives. We also invest in equity, both long and short, of companies that are focused on the blockchain and the crypto industry and payment processing. And in addition, we have a small portion of our fund that is allocated to venture and seed investments.
Wonderful. And last but not least, Anuuj, welcome back to the show. It's always a pleasure. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Thank you so much, mate. So quickly introducing myself, being a startup founder, started 3 startups in the last decade. At present, I'm working as a founder for Sapphire Technologies, which is a pre-accelerator based out of India, where we work closely with fintech companies. In the past, I've also worked with FIS, with American Express, and with Paytm. So very deeply involved in fintech. It's one of the sectors that always excites me the most. Along with it, I'm an international partner at World Business Angel Forum. So we help promote global financial inclusivity across the world, and then basically support entrepreneurs across the world.
Wonderful. And then Mark has joined us as well. Mark, welcome to the show. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Happy to be here, Carl. Sorry for the delay. Mark Mueller-Eberstein, angel investor out of the Seattle area, member of the Alliance of Angels, the Swan Fund, advisor to a bunch of different funds like Blockcelerate. I'm running a blockchain investment group called Codex 3 with my partners here, and investing for about 10, 11 years in the early stage space.
Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. We've got a lot to talk about, so I just want to read a few headlines and to kind of set the stage for us. And Anuuj brought up one of our companies already, FIS, recently partnered with NYDIG to bring crypto services, both trading, buy, sell, and custodian to all U.S. bank customers, turning on those types of services to over 300 million users. This was all last week. We also had Galaxy Digital looking to acquire, or making the acquisition, pardon me, for BitGo, one of the largest custodians in the industry. Nokia, coming back around, always innovating. Nokia, now launching a blockchain-based marketplace for AI models and data. Solana, a very large and growing blockchain ecosystem, saw a $100 million investment into the ecosystem by 5 venture funds. Amazon Web Services rolled out Chia crypto mining services to all of its users. Sotheby's auction house, founded in the mid 1700s, is actually going to be auctioning off the first ever NFT that was created in 2014 called Quantum. Goldman Sachs opened up a trading desk. Today, UBS says they're now exploring these services for their clients. Wendy's excited. Definity, the forever computer, the internet computer, has finally begun its launch. And we have all of this conversation around DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. DeFi, total value locked, has surpassed its all-time highs to even higher highs, reaching $85.4 billion year to date. That is up from $800 million as well. Ethereum seeing all-time highs. It's just crazy in a very exciting way. We have a lot of development happening, a lot of investment going into the space. Would love to hear some of your thoughts generally, as all of you are investing in different areas. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing and what you're investing into in blockchain right now, at that infrastructure, those protocol and those application layers. And Giampaolo, I want to kick it off with you.
Kyle, I think you broke up while you were presenting the question. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're investing in blockchain, or what you see as opportunity in the space. We're seeing headlines come across the board on a daily basis, bigger investments, more applications, more networks, more protocols releasing, providing a growing adoption across all areas. When you look at the landscape of investing in blockchain, where do you see the opportunities that you're investing or that could be invested in?
Yeah, well, definitely I would like to spend a couple of words on Ethereum today, because it has passed giants like PayPal and Bank of America. And I think it can open up like a grenade and create a positive sharpness of fallout in the economy in a lot of sectors. So I think Ethereum is really probably the target that we would like to observe the most. And the usual suspect is Bitcoin. But Bitcoin, I put it in an asset class of its own because it's a repository of value. It's digital gold in the ether. It's substituting gold, and it has a value in that respect, which is more than justified by the returns and by the accumulation, I would say by the attraction of wealth that is siphoning off the market. If you think we have about $500 trillion, market between monetary assets and hard assets and intangible assets and then derivatives and financial securities. And, Bitcoin is, sucking part of the energy out of that system to propel its own life for a good cause, I think, because it's, increasing financial inclusion, is democratizing the access to saving, and it's protecting, the investors from asset inflation. Now, as I say, back to Ethereum, I think Ethereum is got the possibility as a platform to develop, a number of fallout applications, and I think that's enough of potential of its own, which is only minimally been realized. We haven't even scratched the tip of the iceberg, and it's already past, as I say, a giant like a Bank of America. I mean, the possibilities are mind-boggling, for this. And then, of course, I mean, I think we got a very qualified colleague on the panel, and I would like to hear his views as well about, some of the other 9,000 cryptocurrencies out there where to place our bet. But today, I would just, like to present the Ethereum case. Thank you.
It's a good one as well. I mean, right now with all-time highs, its market cap is headed towards JP Morgan in terms of a valued market cap as well. So we've already passed Bank of America, to your point. We also have seen a little bit of excitement and a growing amount of excitement around Ethereum's power into smart contracts, and that we're just starting to scratch the surface and haven't even really seen the big applications and enterprise use cases of said smart contracts. So this is really just the beginning of utilizing some of that technology on the Ethereum blockchain, to your point, Giampaolo. And I believe you may have been pointing down to David, if I'm correct, on the expert that you wanted to hear a little bit more on. So David, I'm going to come to you next. Similar question than Wendy, Mark, and Anuuj to follow. So David, blockchain, what are you looking at? What are you investing in? And any thoughts following Giampaolo?
First of all, thank you to Giampaolo for. I'm humbled by the description of myself as an expert. I missed Saturday Night Live this week purposefully. That would be Elon Musk's appearance and lots of speculation about Dogecoin. And the reason that I say that is because, as an investor, in terms of the here and now of our portfolio, largely being made up of, tried and true tokens right now, we've got a very large weighting towards the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. The price running is certainly exciting. And certainly we cheer it on the one hand, on the other hand, tremendously concerning. So to Giampaolo's point, there are definitely good reasons for the strength of Ethereum. I hope that the price running in Ethereum is underpinned by the same run in price that we saw in Bitcoin over the last, call it 18 months, as opposed to what's going on with Dogecoin. And that's where, we pause for introspection and thought. We are long-term bullish on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, not so on Dogecoin. And the running of the bulls all around the space right now certainly, gives some time for pause. I want to go ahead and highlight the activity that happened at Goldman Sachs. I mean, to your point, Kyle, about UBS and Citi also, kind of finally saying something about cryptocurrency, I guess better late than never. I don't think anyone expected either of those two institutions to be in the lead on something that is so requires so much forethought. But with respect to Goldman Sachs and the derivative trading that has started, I think in terms of the way the financial community looks at the asset class, we cannot overstate the importance of that. Because all of the issues, or not all, but many of the issues that regulated institutions and institutional investors have with cryptocurrency in terms of security, in terms of regulation, in terms of tax-related issues, are really all sidelined when derivatives is the instrument by which you are investing in the underlying asset. And to me, if the derivatives market becomes robust enough, the issues that we discussed regarding regulation and tax will become, I wouldn't say a footnote, but they will become a lot less important for the institutional drive towards the asset class as an investment vehicle than they have been. And to me, I happen to like the boring stuff, and then just to close with a point on the boring stuff. When it comes to blockchain and the implementation of blockchain, you've heard me say it before, and I'll continue to say it. For us, the application of blockchain to some of the most boring activities in the financial world, but yet the greatest in terms of dollar volume, are where we're most excited, whether it be payment processing of transferring of other assets, smart contracts, but contracts for things, that again are boring, title to insurance and to homes and to automobiles and so forth. To us, that's what's most exciting. The NFT stuff relating to art is really exciting from a front page of the paper and, top of mind in the, in the vernacular. But frankly, to us, where most money is going to be made is where we're going to go ahead and apply the technology to some of the largest apparatus that we have in the financial system, which may not be the most exciting.
I think you're calling to it right. I mean, the boring, the infrastructure, the enterprise, the non-exciting stuff, which is also what drove huge excitement around SaaS in the last cycle as well for investments. It wasn't necessarily the most exciting, but it also was some of the best projects, some of the best infrastructure that laid the groundwork for where we are today. So I think David's calling it out right, and I hope, Giampaolo, that answered your question. But Wendy, to you next. I mean, what are you seeing? You're an LP in many funds. You're an angel investor as well in this space. Where are you looking at making investments, and how are you kind of looking at your thesis as this industry rapidly develops and evolves?
Right. Well, first of all, I feel like my sector, I'm so excited about it because, I focus on impact, right? So I'm all about the companies that are using blockchain, specifically in the supply chain, kind of what we just spoke about earlier with India, right? And so, one of the companies, during that whole heyday, like in 2017, investing in all these different companies, I've been very clear about looking at the teams and looking at the technology and also the way that this could make a positive imprint in this world. So, one of the ones, that I'm in is food, right? And about the whole ecosystem, because as we see of what's happening right now in the last year and a half, like everybody's like, my gosh, health is a very important factor, right? And food plays a big part in that. So Producers Market, is one of my biggest investments. We are creating the farm token, which will be coming out in the next 3 months. We've already got 6 million farmers already signed, part of our whole ecosystem in India. We are partners with the government of India, the United Nations Environmental Program. We've, have a huge partnership with all the Caribbean nations. We've got, 50,000 farmers in Costa Rica, so on, so on. But to enable these farmers to earn more equity in the supply chain, right? But what do consumers want? They want traceability, transparency. But, what this company is doing is bringing storytelling, right, on top of the blockchain. So now when we go to Walmart, we scan the barcode with our partnership with IBM and their food trust, you're going to be able to see exactly where this food comes from. But you're also going to be able to see the farmer that has 1 hectare of land that, harvested these, dried mangoes, right? That is now earning more money as part of, the ecosystem that they've created with this blockchain company. So I think, what's really important is, what I'm going to be investing in and what I'm looking for are these really high integrity companies that are using blockchain to bring true traceability and transparency to the world with whatever they're working on. So, another company I just invested in is called Open Grants, which is democratizing grants for everyone. So whether you're a startup or you're a foundation, to be able to enable you to have access to these in a really quick way and to be able to read it is like really important for the future of the world and to empower entrepreneurs. So I think with my personal investments in the angel rounds and the Series A, those are really what I'm focused on. Anything that's in that impact space with Block Tower, CoinFind, Crescent Capital. I work with them into bringing women-led, because it's important we empower women. 1% of venture funds, it went down. It was 2%, now it's down. Oh my gosh, are going towards women founders. And so, to really support women founders within this ecosystem and, part of, Global Women in Blockchain and et cetera is really important as well. So, I think for me, in whatever, I work on, I'm all about like, gosh, if I'm going to wake up every day, I want to make this world a better place. So those are the companies that I'm looking to invest in.
I love it. This thesis of yours continues to evolve and pushes towards that social and that impact side so well. Thank you, Wendy, for all you do in that space. And Mark, I want to come to you next. I mean, you are doing a ton in the space. You and I have talked about this. We've talked about it here on VCTV. Share with us what you're seeing and kind of what you're doing also in these angel groups and the funds and everything that you've been a part of thus far in the space.
Sure, Happy. There's so much going on. And I think, as you said, I think a couple of the pre-speakers, I don't want to recap what they said. I think we see Ethereum, for example. I think I've made a big bet on Ethereum since a friend of mine told me I forget, there's an Italian restaurant in Beijing that he is helping this Russian-Canadian kid to put a foundation together in Switzerland called the Ethereum Foundation. So as an angel investor, you put your money where your mouth is and invest in cool teams and interesting projects. So I'm a big fan of Ethereum for a long, long time. But I've always, and it's interesting to see the institutional interest really shifting and starting to wake up. I think Bitcoin, I mean, for us, if being in this world, it feels like forever, and we know these things forever, but it really feels like the rest of the world is just starting to wake up. So they just embraced Bitcoin as some kind of asset that belongs in a portfolio. Now they're realizing there is a second thing called Ethereum that might be interesting as well. So I think we will see significant capital inflow in the Ethereum ecosystem, but first of all in the token to start with. And I think that's going to happen. I mean, intellectually, and it's definitely more interesting to be more on the fringes and see what's happening that is built on top of Ethereum and some of the other chains, of course, too. The whole DeFi space. I've been a big fan of Uniswap since I think the founder was on Laura Chin's podcast, and I tried to figure out how to join and how to invest. And since the token is out, I think that's one of the great opportunities to be part of the potentially largest crypto exchange in the global space going forward. So I think that's like another blue chip in that space. But also, I think you will see, if you look internationally, see more and more need of privacy tokens. So we've been very closely following the discussions about Monero and some of the technologies that are implemented there. You see privacy as a discussion in the Ethereum space as well, especially for the corporate clients. I think if you see what ENY and a couple of the other big industry players doing around the Ethereum environment, privacy, keeping internal transactions shielded from competitors and others is a key factor there. So as a community, that's something we have to think through and embrace even more. And of course, those are also investment opportunities. And then, yeah, just outside, I mean, as an angel, we're investing outside of crypto as well. So traditional technologies, anything from PPE. I think we just wrote a check for a chocolate company here in Seattle, Theo Chocolate, best chocolate in the world, apparently. Well, maybe Switzerland, there might be some Swiss chocolate there. But if you like Theo, they just closed their last financing round. And but also in the sustainable space. So we just invested in a company out of California that creates truly biodegradable plastic, not just game into little pieces, but it's made out of algae. It's the plastic of the future. You will find it in all your sneakers somewhere in the next 20 years, I hope. So we will see. Makes the world much better. No flip-flops on the beach anymore. They all have been disintegrated. So those are the things we are caring about and investing in.
I love the poll on DeFi as well. I mean, the decentralized finance space has so many applications. Back to the boring or the unexciting, as David mentioned. I mean, the DeFi coming into the enterprise, for me, that's a huge area of excitement, where it may not be for others, along with just general infrastructure as well. You know, looking at these new protocols, looking at how they're building the applications being built off of them. I mean, there's so much there. And Mark, you're calling it out right. Everybody is so far. So this is great to hear. And Anuuj, same question. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing.
So we all know how the Indian government banned cryptocurrency in India. They basically said, hey, we don't consider it to be a currency. While we recognize it could be an asset, and that's what we are going to call it. But just to safeguard the common investor, we're going to ban on all trading. So for me, as someone who was able to jump on the 2017 bandwagon and take advantage of it, what I'm seeing right now is something completely different. For me, my perspective has shifted from seeing it as the currency of the future to the technology of the future. I have said this a number of times that there are still a lot of banks in Southeast Asia right now that do not have real-time payments transfer. And it's mind-boggling. Living in India, for us, it's a common thing. When I make a transfer, it almost always has to be real-time. Seeing that not happen in other countries that are just neighboring us, it's really surprising. So for me, I see blockchain as a technology that's going to improve the financial sector there. And then I see the potential, the limitless potential that blockchain offers, the internet of everything, where you finally see machine-to-machine communication. That's one thing we have been keenly doing research on for the last 2 years. There's also blockchain in gaming, something that would practically change the entire gaming sector. Just over the last 1 year itself, online gaming and mobile gaming have seen a huge growth. And that growth is only going to grow faster and more bigger in the next coming years. So gaming tournaments, gaming challenges, there's a huge market right now on YouTube itself where people are just streaming gaming videos. We are seeing the number of signups on Discord practically grow up exponentially now. So these for me are the things that I want to more or less focus on right now, because to give you an example or to make that comparison, we are practically living in the era of 1990s or the 1980s when internet was first introduced. So from that point on, we did not know how internet will go and how it will become a part of our life. Likewise, we are just seeing the advancement in blockchain. It's a nascent technology that's still in its very early phases, and it will probably be the technology of future. Back to you, mate.
I love it. The beginning of the metaverse, as some have referred to it. But Giampaolo, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to take it from where Anuuj left it and also connect what he said with what Wendy said. And both said something very, very important and even beautiful, I would say. Blockchain is going to allow the development of a democratization process. This is undeniable. Per se, it is not going to make anything better. It is not going to increase the morality of ventures. But what it will do is something which is probably stopping immoral ventures from being able to continue and develop, because, outside of the blockchain platforms in the future, barring new entrants that we don't see on the horizon, there would be no future for technology companies anyway. So I wouldn't use it as a standard bearer of morality, but I definitely would say that a very desirable side effect because of the transparency and the compliance that it is embedded in the system, in the architecture, it would keep wrongdoers at bay. And over time, it is contributing already, but it will contribute majestically to the cleansing of the economic atmosphere. So in that respect, both fellow panelists said something very beautiful. I just wanted to close on that. Thank you so much, Kyle, for letting me.
Of course. Thank you, Giampaolo, for bringing that together. Wendy, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think, going back with Giampaolo, thank you so much. But I think really what we look about, thinking about, where's all the money gone in this world, right? And you look at, a lot of these countries that, have really high inflation, where, so in blockchain and digitization of currencies, we can enable more transparency of where this money goes and what we're supporting. And I think that, like thinking of the future, I think that we are going to have, you're hearing less about the nefarious acts, right? Why? Because now governments and all these big banks and everybody realize, this is the future. And we do need to collaborate, because it's going to go whether or not we believe in it or not. And as you see, Ethereum and Bitcoin, which is worth a lot more than some of the biggest banks in the world, that this is the future and that they've all got to join in and collaborate. Because I think that what we're seeing with this technology, and what I believe as the people that were the founders and creators of Bitcoin, had the highest integrity to put this open sourced most important financial instrument ever created in history to enable everyone to have financial. So I think that's, really an important thing that we all recognize in what we're speaking about, right?
Right. Well, and that just next level infrastructure, a part of the technology stack for any company, any application, any person, right? This is something that's embedded in our lives that we are seeing now really deployed at scale. And David, I want to come to you next. In terms of this industry and where it's going from a funding to an acquisition standpoint, I mean, I mentioned Galaxy Digital's acquisition of BitGo, the largest custodian in the space. On the investment side, ESO, Latin America's largest exchange, saw $250 million of investment from Tiger Global and Cotier. We had 4 investments I talked about 2 hours ago. It is continually seeing more investment going into this industry. That being said, on the acquisition side, mergers and acquisitions, do you see or foresee more of this activity over the next year, a consolidation of some of these bigger companies to really help push the industry forward?
Yeah, so I'll make the following point. I think it's a pretty slow day with the news cycle in this asset class today. And you ticked off, I don't know, I'd say a good half a dozen stuff that happened this morning. Some of the stuff happened over the weekend, late Friday. We've gotten used to an incredibly dizzying pace. And even on slow news days like today, which you go ahead and disagree with me, but I feel like I can breathe today as opposed to some days not. There is so much going on behind the scenes. I mean, there are an incredible number of public companies that cannot even whisper about what they're doing because they're concerned about competitive nature, material non-public information getting out there, plans that are in the works that may not come to fruition for a long time. So I expect that the short answer to your question, there is a dizzying number of corporate activity in the works that will come out, that will be announced, that we'll go ahead and talk about, and it will lead to a ton of consolidation. So one of the things that I'm particularly interested in is Coinbase's first earnings report later this week. The numbers have already been released prior to their listing, but I think the discussion on the earnings call is going to be extremely interesting. And to talk about infrastructure and kind of boring parts of the business, again, the exchanges, the custodial services, we will start to see how much growth there is in terms of the next number of quarters. Is there going to be are we already up to a point of consolidation? Are we going to see a bunch of custodians consolidate, or is a really large financial institution going to start to consolidate exchanges or custodians quickly? I think we are going to see an incredible amount of activity. I think it's going to be breathtaking, no matter how it all pans out. Whether it's independents or whether it's incumbents or whether it's fractured or whether it's consolidated, I think we're going to see an incredible amount of deal-making activity. And, not to particularly plug my fund, but the idea of only focusing on one form of asset, whether it be tokens or equities or debt or VC or seeds, I think it's so myopic. You've got to be nuts to be that person and miss the entire space. You've got to be exposed to the breadth of what's going on here. At the same time, last point, at the same time, I have to be focused on May's, numbers. I got to make money in May. I got to show good growth in the fund in May. So the question is what's going to happen in the month of May? Where do I feel most confident in the month of May? One of the things that's most concerning to me right now is, can Ethereum strip Bitcoin of its standing? Forget about market cap. Forget about a number of wallets. The question is someone going to look at Ethereum and say, you know what? It's store of value plus use case. So essentially it's eclipsed, or it's essentially left Bitcoin void. I'm scared about that, right? And we can argue about the fundamentals of that. Is it possible that that could happen? Or do those two things need to be independent of one another? The uses of Ethereum that were spoken about earlier, and then the store value of Bitcoin. Meanwhile, our SEC is first getting involved. Gary Gensler talked about finally admitting Bitcoin is a store of value, and all other cryptocurrencies, or a lot of others, need to be regulated as securities. I mean, the issues on the table are incredible. And so on a slow news day, we get to step back, ponder some of these really existential issues. And then other days, maybe tomorrow, Kyle, we won't be able to talk about stuff like this because we'll just be playing catch up.
I do not disagree on that. You are right. It is definitely a slow, positive news day versus the craze we had last week of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I mean, it was a shotgun into the weekend from the news cycle, and was just so incredible to keep up with. And I agree. I think second half of this year, particularly right around fall, September through the end of the year, we're going to see some of the most aggressive M&A activity in this space that we have to date. And that's not to say forever, but just to date, we're going to see a lot of that because we've got the big names we've already mentioned, the Goldmans, the Fidelities, the UBSs, the JP Morgans, et cetera, the big banks that feel they need to catch up. And that's a good way to catch up when you got a lot of cash to play. And we also have, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just make one other point?
Please.
On the M&A, you know, we're talking about a red hot stock market. So that allows the currency of equity to be used incredibly strong. So if we were in a market that was not as strong as this, cash would be king. Cash may not be king at all right now. It may be equity interests that are so much more valuable, which will allow deal-making activity to be even more ferocious than we would otherwise expect it to be.
Well, and we also have a number of companies that have prepared or notified in those hype cycle of news craze days that they are also planning public offerings of some sort as well. So we could also see a wave of that, I think, this summer, in my personal opinion, from what I'm reading. It's going to be exciting and crazy all at the same time. So while we have this moment of breath for each of you as we come to closing thoughts here, what does the second half of this year look like? We're coming to the middle of May here, about to hit that first half of the year, if you will. What does the second half look like? What are you excited about? What does the second half look like? And then, of course, where can everyone find you? Giampaolo, I see you're having some internet connection, so I'm going to go with you first in case you have an issue, and then we'll go around to the rest.
Sure. I hope you can hear me well because I hear you with a big echo now. The second half of the year, I see a continuing interest and involvement on the financial and banking sector to shift towards the digital. More and more, we will see capital being transferred and deployed into blockchain-based architecture, application, institutions, exchanges, and companies from all walks of life. This is what I see. I'm Giampaolo Parigi. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Giampaolo. Wendy, to you next. Same question. Where can everyone find you as well?
So, I would say, I believe the EFTs are coming. I think this summer we're going to see an EFT in Bitcoin. I think we're going to have a fast EFT in Ethereum, and you're going to start seeing all these different DeFi NFTs coming out. And I feel like there's no better time to incorporate, whether you're a supply chain company in health and food, et cetera, to bring traceability and transparency. So I feel like that is what we're going to see a lot of action. And, I've been, lobbying UBS for 5 years to get behind this thing. And, it's very exciting to see these banks now embracing this and offering it to their, right now, their quote unquote, I saw an article of rich clients. I was like, that's so ridiculous. But, to enable this for, clients, because I feel like right now, if everyone could just invest in the future of what blockchain is about, I think is truly what we need in this world right now, especially with the climate that we're in today. So everyone can find me on wendydiamond.com. You can find my social media there. You can see all the funds and all the investments I'm in, and happy to support anybody making a positive impact in this world.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anuuj.
Thank you so much, mate. So, echoing my point again, I mean, it's about time that we move on from our focus. While, of course, there would always be news coming across of things like Dogecoin, where people will realize they probably missed out on a jackpot. But while we have those news, it's important to make sure that we keep our head straight. We focus on the long-term goal, and then make sure that we are eventually creating a better world for everyone, not just trying to make money in the short term. With that being said, you can always find me online on LinkedIn, Anuuj Chauhan, or you can reach out to me on Twitter. You can always check out our website, yellowsapphiretech.com. If you ever need help, or if there's any entrepreneur out there that's working on great fintech technology, reach out to me. Would love to have a conversation.
Mark.
Happy to. So, I mean, volatility will, of course, is part of the crypto space, and we'll see prices going up and down. And that's why I said I don't have the nerves for day trading. I leave that to my friends at Strix Leviathan or Makara. Going to provide a robo-advisor investment things going forward for the second half. So I'm quite excited about what's happening there for the consumer space. I think the funds like the Permian Fund that is very active in the DeFi space, and they're doing a really nice job. With Bitcoin, I'm paying currently, as Pantera just called it, fairly priced. So we'll probably see prices where better or also worse opportunities to enter in the space if you haven't done it yet. But having said that, I think the second half, I'm very bullish of what's happening with Ethereum. I think we just had the Ethereum Summit, with both Vitalik and Joe Lubin talking about Ethereum 2.0, or what does this really mean? There's some shifts there that are making it, I think, even easier. Technology-wise, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. So I think it's really a long game here. It's creating the foundation for a stable financial system of the future, financial infrastructure of the future, the tools that will be there. So I'm quite excited about what's happening in the midterm and long term. I can be reached, you know it, Kyle. Here we go, Mark M. Eberstein at Twitter. That's the easiest way to find me. And the DMs are also open to engage. I'm looking forward to continue these conversations over the next, 6 to 12 months and see where the world is going. Always a pleasure talking with you, Kyle. And just shout out to Wendy. I'm so glad to see you again. And thanks for all your contributions to the space.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Last but not least, David, quick closing thought. Where can you be found? ProChainCapital. Give it a shout out.
Yeah. At ProChainCapital on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm going to offer a contrarian point at the end here. I actually don't think, and this is not based on only my own, expertise, but my partners as well at ProChain. We don't think Ethereum is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We actually think that there are a number of tokens out there that do what Ethereum does, but a lot better. Adoption is certainly a little bit further along with Ethereum than others. But in terms of monetary policy, Ethereum is not a particularly, sound or fundamental store of value, and its functionality is not as good as people would like to believe, B. We are long Ethereum today. The momentum is there. We have a higher concentration of Bitcoin than we do in Ethereum. We think that the store of value of Bitcoin is not going away. It's not going to be outstripped. We think it's going to be the market standard for a good portion of time to come. And I think that the lifespan of Ethereum is actually going to be shorter than Bitcoin. All that said, like I said earlier in the presentation or in the discussion, I'm concerned about May's gains, hopefully, certainly June and through the end of the year. Everything I've said until now, points towards a very bullish run from here on out through the end of the year. Certainly, as we have all come to expect, there will be fits and starts, and volatility, should be expected by everyone. But nevertheless, I certainly join hands with everybody else on this panel on the point that, we're still early days, guys. We'll continue to say it, early days, early days. There is a lot more excitement to come.
Wonderful. All, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and insights today on where investments are around the blockchain industry as a whole. Tons of excitement, early days, as was pointed out, but a ton to be excited about and a ton to be building and investing in as well. And if you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe, share, and like today's episode. Also check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. Make sure that you reach out to each and every one of us here on today's panel. We'd all love to continue the conversation. If you're building, investing, doing anything in the blockchain space, but remember, please add context, where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the conversation about as well. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making today's episode possible. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow on CTV. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.